Ah, hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world. Oh my goodness, it's getting crazier, isn't it? Crazier and crazier. This case, this poor woman, Anne Widdicombe, brutally murdered in her own kitchen. 78 years old. Um, how can I put a character? Someone who's been in Britain, devoted her life really to public service, politics, whether you agree with her or not. She's certainly had a big influence. And she's not only known for her politics, she's been a celebrity. She's been on Celebrity Big Brother. She came second. She was on Strictly Come Dancing. She got very far in that, even though she can't dance at all. But people liked her, and she showed that she can. I don't know, be a good sport, join in with everything, try her hardest. Of course, for politics itself, she's known. She was in government years ago, back in the day. She is a committed Catholic now. She left the Church of England because she didn't like their woke policies. She joined the Catholic Church, very devout Catholic. And generally a very well-known figure and loved by many people, and if not loved, at least respected by others who didn't agree with her views. So, gosh, it's only been a couple of days. So today is Monday. Friday morning, it was announced that Anne Widdicombe had passed away by her agents. But initially, there was no suggestion, was there? It was anything but a natural death. I mean, we just didn't know what had happened to her. We didn't really question it because she was 78 years old, even though, she was a very fit and healthy 78-year-old. I don't think initially anyone really questioned it. Then later that day, on Friday, it was announced by the police that they'd opened a murder investigation. And very shortly after that, they actually arrested someone. Someone that lived not far away from Anne was arrested on suspicion of murder. Then Saturday, that person, it was announced early in the morning, that person had been released and was not thought to have anything to do with Anne's murder. Then later on Saturday evening, another man was arrested, a 28-year-old man, miles away from where Anne lived, near Dartmoor in Rotherham in Yorkshire. He was arrested, and through all this, the police have said consistently, as far as they were concerned, there was no evidence it was terrorist related. Why did they say that? Because now, suddenly, today, Monday, so Friday, the news broke she was deceased. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we're not even like 4 days later, we've gone on the round trip. One suspect arrested and released, this other person arrested, but they do seem to have the right person this time, as far as we know. But he has now been rearrested under the Terrorism Act and counter-terrorist police, who have always been involved in this case, by the way. So that seems a bit suspicious in itself. Why were they ever involved in it in the first place if it wasn't terrorist related? Maybe just because Anne was a politician. They've taken over the case, and it is terrorist related, and there's been, there's absolute chaos now. Everybody talking about MPs should have security and this, that, and the other, because if Anne has been murdered for her political views. I mean, that is very serious. Well, all murders are serious, obviously. But this man seems to have gone and driven for four hours or so from his home in Rotherham all the way just to kill little Anne Widdicombe. Took a stick with him. He's a great big hulking guy, you'll see. What we're going to look at in this video, we're going to see him being arrested. We're going to listen to the press conference. Only yesterday, the police gave a press conference and reiterated no terrorist involvement as far as they were concerned. And they're also, one of the officers speaking said that this was policing, British policing at its very best. Oh my God. Well, if what's happened in this case with Anne Widdicombe is British policing at its very best, you wouldn't want to see it at its very worst, would you? Because let's see what's happened here. First of all, they didn't even realise she'd been murdered. You know, it seems that when they first went in and found Anne, it seems that they seemed to think she'd had some sort of accident. So that was the first thing. So the agent, Anne's agent, actually released the news about her death before we even knew she'd been murdered. So that was right weird in itself, because one minute, you know, it's been announced that Anne Widdicombe died. Everyone's doing eulogies to her, you know, what about her career and all the this, that, and the other. And then the next minute, it's, oh, hang on, it's a murder investigation. So it's like, what? Then there's a guy arrested. Great. Then he's released. Oh. Then another guy arrested. Not terrorism, not terrorism. And now, suddenly, it's terrorism. So if this is British policing at its finest, seriously, what would British policing at its worst be? And so, you know, I'm not anti-police, believe me. I think the police do a really difficult job. And normally I'm right on the side of the police, but I do think they've completely buggered up this case. I really do. And it'll just create more antipathy towards the police. Everybody's waiting now so now they're saying it's terrorist related, but we don't know what. Is the guy, they saying the guy is a white British male? Is it gonna turn out that he actually isn't? You know, this is what I'm thinking. All this time they've been saying this is a white British male. Is he though? And I mean, you know, I'm just a bit flabbergasted with the whole thing, because you can't trust anything that they say now. Are they just saying that because they don't want riots? You know, is it going to turn out that it is to do with Islam, or is it going to turn out just somebody who didn't like Anne's views? Anne was very anti-immigration, of course. She was anti a lot of things. You know, she had strong views. She wasn't ashamed of her views. She said what she thought, regardless of the consequences, you know, or the backlash, if you like. Though, of course, she wouldn't have been expecting backlash like murder. But is it because of views that she held? But, you know, she's not unique in her views. Lots of people support Anne's views. So was she just picked on because she's a little old lady and she couldn't fight back? Why did they choose Anne? Why Anne? You know, if it is terror related, so that makes it sound like it's politically motivated. But why choose Anne? Is it just because she was an easy target and they found out where she lived? It wasn't difficult to find out where she lived. She was very open about where she lived. She'd been on TV showing people around her home. There's photos of her all over the internet, you know, at her home, where it was called Anne's Rest. So, you know, is that why they went to Anne's? Just because it was easy to find? and they knew a little old lady lived there on her own with a cat? Or did they even think that far? Then, of course, there's been talk of mental health issues, learning difficulties, grief-stricken because his father died just before Christmas. All these things have been bandied around, when basically, ultimately, in my opinion, he's just an evil twonk. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Please, if you're not subscribed, please think about it. It's completely free. Special thank you to my members, to those of you by Ko-fis, support by merchandise who support my channel in any way, any positive way you support my channel. Thank you so much. And I'm going to take off this banner. I'm going to say hello to my lovely lurkers, hello to replay crew, and hello to anyone who joins the chat. Thank you so much. Okay, so the first thing I want to look at is this press conference. So bear in mind that this press conference we're going to watch was yesterday, just yesterday. These police officers, you know, patting each other on the back. One of them describing it as British policing at its very best. Oh my God. Anyway, let's watch it. Just looks ridiculous now in view of everything that's happened since then. So just a day later, virtually sort of what they said in this conference, it proves to be completely wrong. And now I do feel we're at a position where we don't believe anything the police say as far as this case is concerned. No, they made a total cock up of it. They arrested the wrong man. They've said it's not terrorism, and now suddenly it's terrorism. Goodness me. Right, let's watch.
78-year-old Anne Widdicombe has continued to develop over the past 24 hours. Shortly after 9 p.m. on Saturday, the 11th of July, a 28-year-old white British man was arrested at an address in Rotherham.
Now, this is the thing they keep repeating now, a white British man. They've said that a million times. So, you know that if this turns out that it's not a white British man, there's, you know, it's just, surely they wouldn't say it if it wasn't true, but you know what? I don't know.
South Yorkshire on suspicion of the murder of Miss Widdicombe. We were supported by officers from Counter-Terrorism Police North East and South Yorkshire Police who carried out the arrest.
So he said, even in this press conference, they were supported by Counter-Terrorism Police. But then he goes on to say, we've no evidence to say it's to do with terrorism. So why were the Counter-Terrorist Police ever involved? Is it just because she is a politician?
On behalf of Devon and Cornwall. Miss Widdicombe's family been informed of the updates and continue to be supported by our specialist officers. Our thoughts remain with her family and friends at this incredibly difficult time. At this point, there is still no information to suggest that this is a terrorism-related incident, and at this point, we are not looking for anyone else in connection with this murder. We retain primacy of this investigation, and detectives remain open-minded about the potential motive. At this stage, there is nothing to suggest that it was politically motivated. A cordon is still in place as officers continue inquiries at the scene, and we anticipate that this will be the case for the next few days. The local community can also expect to see a heightened police presence in the coming weeks to provide reassurance to them. However, I wish to reassure you that we do not have any information to suggest that there is any wider threat to the public at this time. We're grateful to our colleagues in South Yorkshire for the assistance that they provided, and they'll continue to support through our investigation. Over the past few days, we've received in excess of 120 reports of information to assist us in our investigation into our major incident public portal. I'd just like to thank all those who've taken the time to contribute that information and ask anyone who has not yet submitted any information that they hold to do so as a priority. We're aware of online and public speculation, particularly with regards to motive. Again, I urge people not to share or engage with that speculation. It's unhelpful. It doesn't aid our investigation, and particularly it's distressing to the family and friends of Miss Widdicombe. We understand.
How are you going to stop people speculating? You know, it's just ridiculous. I don't even know why they bother saying it, because of course people are going to speculate. Part of it is their fault because they've completely cocked up the inquiry. You know, 1 minute it's announced her death on Friday morning by her agent as if she'd just died of natural causes. Next minute it's a murder investigation. Next minute someone's arrested. Next minute they're released, it's nothing to do with them. Then someone else is arrested. Through it all they're saying it's nothing to do with terrorism. Then today they announce it's to do with terrorism. So, and they're telling us not to speculate? Bloody cheek.
I understand that there's a huge appetite for information, but progressing and protecting the integrity of our investigation is paramount now. We recognise there is still some way to go in this case, and the release of any information will be a decision made on an operational basis. I would like to thank the local communities, the wider public and the media for their ongoing support and patience. I would ask them to continue to support us in the next stage of this investigation. Any relevant information, images or footage can be reported via our major incident public portal, and you can follow the links and QR codes available on our website to achieve this. Information can also be passed anonymously to the independent charity Crime Stoppers. Thank you very much. I'd like to hand over now to the Chief Constable to say a few words.
Thank you, Matt, and good morning, everybody. Thank you, first of all, to Matt, the Senior Investigator and Officer, and the wider teams here in Devon and Cornwall that have mounted an extraordinary response to a horrific murder of a very prominent public figure. Really pleased that we have a suspect firmly in custody and that will undergo some further work from us today. Well done to all. This is clearly British policing at its very best.
Yeah, let's just hear that again, because sorry, it is a bit glitchy, the video. Yeah, this is clearly British policing at its very best, apparently.
Well done.
Yeah, is that what we think, really? As I say, this is...
That we have a suspect firmly in custody
this is
and that will undergo... further work from us today. Well done to all. This is clearly British policing at its very best. Thank you to media colleagues for your patience and working with us over the last 2 days, allowing us to focus on the most important thing here, which is to catch a dangerous man and bring him to justice. My appreciation to you for that. Thank you. And finally, my thanks also goes to the public in giving us the information that we need to progress this investigation. And I reiterate the ongoing message and direction around speculation and how unhelpful and how that can hinder a major investigation
Bloody cheek.
Of this nature. But thank you, everybody, and thank you to the teams.
So yes, British police at its very best apparently, arresting the wrong suspect, saying it's not terrorism.
That was an update, a press conference from Devon and Cornwall Police into the murder, the death of Anne Widdicombe, the former Tory minister. We first initially heard from a Assistant Chief Constable, Matt Longman. In terms of the new details that he brought us, it was really kind of fleshing out and giving more detail on what we already knew, which was the arrest of a 28-year-old man who was arrested in South Yorkshire last night. Matt Longman said
so yeah, looking at where
that arrest happened at 9 p.m. last night.
Where Anne lived, when we look at this, we can see it wasn't really. I know it's beautiful, but I couldn't. I think she's so vulnerable there. So you've got these roads on either side. It is encircled by roads. You've got a swimming pool there, but it's also open. Anyone could just walk, and that's obviously what he did. Just walked up. Maybe he just walked in her house. Maybe she left her door open because of the heat. Just looks so vulnerable, doesn't it, for an old lady to live there on her own with her cat. Talking about security for MPs or what people in political life, but you do have to think about your own security as well, don't you? You don't have to be in public life to protect your safety. It is not safe when you live in an area like that to just leave your door open or to not have cameras and that. We live in a world where there is a lot of violence. There's robberies, there's there's a lot of people with mental health issues that to live in a house like Anne lived in without security, whether you're an MP or not is what I'm trying to say. That to me would be terrifying to live there. This is in the daytime. When I look around there's no lights, is there? No lampposts. Imagine how dark that is at night. How could you feel safe there? Anyone could just walk into your property, right up to your door. And there's it's so big and there's so many places where someone could break into it in the dark. To me, it doesn't look like a safe place to live, even though it is a beautiful place to live. But it seems to me that this man maybe walked right up to Anne's door or even walked through her door. So the attack happened in the kitchen, apparently.
Specifically, it happened in Rotherham, that local police officers in the region were involved, but also counter-terrorism police were involved as well. But he then went on to say that there was still no information to suggest that this was terror related, that there was a motive linked to terrorism in this. He also said that whilst they were open-minded about the motive, there was also nothing to suggest that this death, this potential murder, alleged murder, was politically motivated either. But of course...
Yeah. So basically, yeah, sorry, the video is just glitching there.
They did say they are open-minded.
So we'll go off that video. But yeah, again, nothing to suggest it's politically motivated or terrorist motivated. And this was literally yesterday. And so within 24 hours, it's complete about face. You know, it was politically motivated or it was terrorism, and counter-terrorism police have taken over it. So what does that mean? You know, because we don't know when they say terrorist, you know, I think straight away we think of, you know, the first thing that comes into our mind is probably Islamic terrorists, isn't it? But it could be far-right terrorists. You know, there's been 2 MPs murdered before. You've got David Amos, Tory MP, who was murdered by an Islamic terrorist, if you like, or, you know, in the name of Islam. And then you've got Joe Cox, a Labour MP, who was murdered by a far-right extremist. So, you know, we don't know. All we know now is that they're saying that this was a terrorist attack. But what terrorist? You know, like, we don't know from what side of the political fence it was. You would imagine it's got to be a left-wing terrorist, because Anne was so right-wing. It could be anything, couldn't it? But they're not giving us that information. But we can't speculate. We're not supposed to speculate. Just accept the fact we're crap at our jobs and don't speculate. That's how, honestly, that press conference where that policeman said, this is clearly British policing at its finest. It's embarrassing that he said that, because it's not. It's been crap. They've arrested the wrong. You know, they didn't think it was a murder at first. Then they've arrested the wrong man, and then they said it wasn't terrorist related, and now it is. So how is that British policing at its finest, or at its very best, as he said? It's not. Anybody watching this from another country who isn't British would be thinking, oh my God, if that's British policing at its best, what's its worst? So what we're going to look at now is the actual arrest. So the other thing that's really strange, I think, in this case, is the Sun newspaper is the ones that are releasing all the sort of information. You know, it's the Sun newspaper that released the CCTV of the guy leaving his property with a great big stick to drive 4 hours or whatever to Anne Widdicombe's property to bludgeon her to death. Because the Sun released that. Now we've got another video released by the Sun newspaper, which is of the arrest. Why the Sun doing this and not the police? And surely the Sun newspaper has to have the police's permission to do this. Otherwise, isn't that interfering in an investigation? They keep telling us not to speculate. And then you've got the Sun newspaper releasing all the bloody evidence and CCTV. It's weird. The whole case is so strange. Hey, Darren. Hey, Junior. So let's have a look at the arrest. So the Sun has put this on its YouTube channel. how the Sun even allowed to do this. Seriously, we want to see it. You know, we've got a thirst for this case. We've got an appetite for it because Anne Widdicombe was famous, and she was even loved by many, respected by many more. Probably a lot of people hated her, I don't know, but she was a public figure that everybody knows about. So obviously people want to know what's happening in the case, and it's the Sun newspaper that's releasing all the information, and the police are just releasing incorrect information. Really weird.
From the scene of the crime. Found dead at her isolated bungalow in Hayter, Devon on.
Just put it back to the beginning.
This is the dramatic moment. The man suspected of killing Anne Widdicombe is arrested at his home nearly 300 miles away from the scene of the crime. The 78-year-old ex-Tory minister was found dead at her isolated bungalow.
So he's a big guy, isn't he? So they've brought him out without a shirt on. You know, what big man, eh? You know, size of him. He's like a bloody, built like a brick SHIT house. And yet there he went and murdered a tiny 78-year-old woman. What a big man he is. He might be big in stature, but he's a piece of SHIT as far as his character's concerned.
In Hayter, Devon on Thursday morning. Video captured on a doorbell camera on Saturday evening at around 9 p.m. shows the moment armed officers swoop on the suspect's home. Cops can be seen charging into the garden of the suspect's property before bursting through his door. A short while after officers enter the property, backup arrives and detectives can be seen gathering in the garden of the man's home. Later, the shirtless man is handcuffed and escorted by an officer who takes him to a car waiting on the road. After the suspect is brought into custody, officers remain in his garden and home and can be seen as they begin to look around the property. Cops theorized that Miss Widdicombe died some 24 hours before she was found. Police said she appeared to have been bludgeoned, sustaining a serious head wound. A 28-year-old man was subsequently arrested on suspicion of murder on Saturday.
Serious head wound. So was it just one crack across the head? And that makes you wonder that if this, you know, did it instantly kill her? Because, you know, could she have been saved if this horrible person would have had the decency to at least ring for an ambulance or something? Not just leave her there for 24 hours.
Evening in Rotherham, South Yorkshire. Now let's take a look at the timeline of events so far. Wednesday, the 8th of July, 8 a.m. Anne Widdicombe's last broadcast appearance. Anne appears remotely at her home on News UK's Talk TV station. The former Brexiteer spoke to Talk TV in defence of Reform UK leader Nigel Farage. Wednesday, the 8th of July, 12:19 p.m. Anne Widdicombe's final communications. A series of WhatsApp messages are exchanged with the producer from Channel 5 regarding a scheduled appearance on the Matt Allwright show later that afternoon. Anne's final text, sent at 19 minutes past 12, reads, "Received, panic over." Devon and Cornwall police believe this is the precise window when Widdicombe was attacked inside her home, sustaining serious and fatal injuries. The Channel 5 producer sends a Zoom link for the show to Anne at 12:48 p.m. The WhatsApp read receipt shows Widdicombe net unanswered, and the broadcaster raised the alarm with Anne's agent. Thursday, the 9th of July, 11:40 a.m., Anne's body is discovered. Anne's body was reportedly discovered by a domestic assistant just moments before emergency services arrived at the address following the growing welfare concerns. Police found Widdicombe deceased inside her bungalow with severe blunt traumas. Forensic evidence indicates she had been dead for nearly 24 hours. A public announcement is made. Widdicombe's managing agency, Cloud9 Management, publicly confirms her death at the age of 78, describing her as a force of nature, but does not initially state that a crime occurred. At 3:44 p.m., a murder investigation is officially launched. Devon and Cornwall police state that they are hunting for a male suspect.
Yeah, what was the delay? So she was found the day before, Thursday. Friday morning, her agents announced that she had died, but it wasn't until nearly 4 o'clock Friday afternoon that the police declared it was a murder investigation. Why did it take all that time? So that's the first cock up by the police. Honestly, it feels like maybe they until she actually got into an autopsy or into the coroner, feels like maybe they just assumed it was a fall. Just seems strange, doesn't it? Why did it take them? Why did it take them all that time? I don't understand. To announce it was a murder investigation. The police have cocked this up right from the minute the word go, I think. Anyway, let me know.
Then at 5:45 p.m., Devon and Cornwall police make their first arrest. A 26-year-old man is arrested in Newton Abbot, fewer than 10 miles from her property, on suspicion of Anne's murder. Saturday, the 11th of July, 11:41 p.m. Police arrest a prime suspect. At 6:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, police announced that the 26-year-old man initially arrested had been eliminated from the inquiry and released without charge. This sparked a widespread manhunt for a new suspect. At 11:41 p.m., following a fast-moving operation involving counter-terrorism units, a 28-year-old white British man is arrested 270 miles away at a property in Rotherham, South Yorkshire. Officers also seized a red car from the driveway. Neighbours later report seeing a man putting some kind of wooden stick into the car on the day of the murder. Our exclusive CCTV footage shows him with an object described as a wooden baton in his shorts pocket. The man left the Rotherham.
Yeah, I mean, is it a baseball bat? Looks a little bit like a baseball bat, but we don't know. We don't know. So again, these images have not come from the police. They've come from the Sun. Do you think the Sun has been round flashing the cash, getting the neighbours to sell them their CCTV images, like door cam videos and things? Are they even allowed to do that? Are they allowed to do that? It really just all seems really weird to me. That the Sun newspaper is virtually doing all the commentary on this case, and the commentary that the police are doing, you know, patting each other on the back and saying this is British policing at its very best. Well, no, it bloody isn't. So what? Don't you think it's odd? When does this happen? That we get to see all this CCTV revealed by newspapers, you know, before a case. The guy hasn't even been charged yet. So he was arrested. He's now been rearrested because now it's under the Terrorism Act. But he hasn't been charged, or we haven't been notified that he's been charged. Were they going to release him like they did the other one? I mean, obviously, as they've gone into his property, they've found something that they didn't know about before. But the thing is, when they said, as far as they were concerned, this was not terrorist related, maybe they need to change the language and they should have said, we don't know. Just simply, we don't know. It's too early to say. Instead of sort of virtually saying, no, it isn't. You know, maybe that'd be more sensible. So now everyone's just feeling completely gaslit. It's like the next, so they say he's a white British male. That we probably end up, he isn't that at all. You know, we don't know. We don't believe a word they say. So Darren says he won't last that long in prison. He will be looked at as a bacon targeted from the word go. Yeah, maybe. I think that'll depend on what transpires about, you know, the motives. His nationality or his ethnicity will have an effect. Are the police just frightened to say? And when they say it's under the Terrorism Act, what sort of terrorist is he? You know, is he a left-wing terrorist, a right-wing terrorist? Is he just some Fruit Loop? I mean, you know, I know that the police don't owe us an explanation, but do you see how they cause more problems by not giving us information? They're the ones that cause the problems. They should just say, no, we don't know, or I don't know. There's got to be a better way of dealing with this kind of thing than the way they've dealt with it. It's been a nightmare.
From Council House just before 8 a.m. last Wednesday and is suspected to have driven 267 miles to the MP and Strictly Stars bungalow in Devon. More CCTV footage obtained by The Sun shows police cars arriving at the Rotherham address, showing police arriving to arrest the suspect just before 10 p.m. on Saturday. Sunday, 12.
Yeah, actually, you're right, Darren. So they've got much more time now, haven't they? Because they've charged him under the terrorism offences. They've got much longer that they can keep him without charge. So, I am surprised they haven't charged him yet, though, with the murder, because surely maybe they're waiting for DNA results to come back off the baton, or, you know, maybe it's just the forensics take time, don't they? So, you know, maybe that's why they haven't charged him yet, even though they're maybe, you know, 100% certain that he is the guilty party. They're just getting their ducks in a row, maybe.
12th of July, 11 a.m. Tributes are paid to Anne Widdicombe. A poignant tribute was paid to Anne Widdicombe at her local church, the Buckfast Abbey in Devon. Later, Reform leader Nigel Farage, along with Zia Youssef, Lee Anderson and Danny Kruger, all laid floral tributes near Anne's home to pay respect to the former politician.
She was a remarkable individual, redoubtable, I think the word was invented for her. Opponents knew exactly what to expect from her, and at times, I have to say, colleagues did feel the wrath of her tongue. She was the fiercest proponent of free speech I think I've ever met. She believed that we had the freedom and the right to say things that insulted each other. Her career in politics, of course, spanned decades as a minister, and then for many years as a shadow minister. And I spoke to one of her colleagues last night who said during those years in the shadow cabinet, she was the only one who always spoke up for what she believed to be the national interest.
Sunday, the 12th of July, 11:36 a.m. Police provide an update. Assistant Chief Constable Matt Longman holds a press conference. He confirms that the 28-year-old suspect remains in custody. Crucially, police announced that they are not looking for anyone else in connection with the crime. A Ring doorbell camera at Anne's home showed a white British man and his car outside, giving police a key breakthrough in the case. Monday, the 13th, terrorist has been rearrested on suspicion of commission, preparation, or instigation of acts of terrorism. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood said she had spoken with the head of National Counter-Terrorism Police, Lawrence Taylor, regarding the probe. Writing on X, she said, following new information and evidence, they are now leading the investigation into the horrific murder of Widdicombe. The police are pursuing multiple lines of inquiry.
For information, because the police have been absolutely crappo. I just want to watch the arrest again. Rubbish.
They can, but also trying not to see these situations inflamed. The News Agents podcast is brought to you by HSBC UK.
This is the dramatic moment. The man suspected of killing Anne Widdicombe is arrested at his home nearly 300 miles away from the scene of the crime. The 78-year-old ex-Tory minister was found dead at her isolated bungalow in Hayter, Devon.
So there he is, being arrested.
Thursday morning. Video captured on a doorbell camera on Saturday evening at around around 9 p.m. Suspected of killing Anne Widdicombe is arrested at his home nearly 300 miles away from the scene of the crime. The 78-year-old ex-Tory minister was...
Yeah, great big guy. They brought him out shirtless, but you can see, you know, he's a big guy. And Anne was only 5'1", 78 years old. And this horrible man went all the way, drove for hours just to kill a little old lady. So what a man, what a fabulous man. Now, just something else I want to show you before I go. Apparently there's some evidence that Anne's WhatsApp, where is it? You know, Anne's WhatsApp messages, we looked at those and they were supposed to have stopped, you know, at a certain time. But somebody was saying today on X, I think it was, let me see if I can find the post. You know, I find these posts and think, oh, that's interesting. I'd like to talk about that. And then I can't bloody find him again. It was on the Politics UK X account. Oh, we've got another new video up on these videos. So we've got video now. Anne Widdicombe murder suspect taking out his bins 3 days after her murder. Let's have a look at that. So yeah, I think the Sun newspaper's definitely been there paying off the neighbours. Yeah, he's a big guy, this guy. Yeah, but now it's been 3 days after his murder, Anne Widdicombe. Well, but yes, I've just murdered someone. But let's not forget to put the bins out, hey? Sorry, I've got to share it, haven't I? it'll come on in a minute. Yeah, calm as anything. Dear old.